Should I get started? Wonderful. Why don't I get started? Everyone can hear me? Okay, working with this microphone. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cass Friedland, and I'm chair of the Clark County Commission on Aging. And today is March 15th of 2023. I'd like to warmly welcome everyone joining us today for the Commission's second public workshop on the Aging Readiness Update Plan. This workshop is taking the place of the Commission's regular meeting this month. We'd like to start this afternoon by hearing a few welcoming remarks from the Mayor of Battleground, Philip Johnson.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to have you here. On the Ides of March, normally not a real good day for political people. What was it, 2,060 some odd years ago, Caesar got it. So if anyone starts screaming A2, I will look left and right and make sure that doesn't happen. This job is an interesting job. Being on city council and being the mayor is an interesting job. This, in a period of 1 week, last week I was in school learning some skill for a little business I hope to open, and it was all done with 24-year-olds roughly. So it was me and 18 other 24-year-olds. And then on Monday, we have senior lunch here, so it was me and roughly 126 65-plus-year-olds. And so last week, as I'm sitting there eating lunch with the 20-something-year-olds, one of them just looked at me and said, "What is it to be old?" And I looked at him and stated, "What you meant to say is, what is it to be older?" And he said, no, I meant what is it to be old? And I got to thinking that here's a guy maybe in his mid-20s, and he's wondering. And I'm like, well, do you want the truth or do you want it sugar-coated? He says, give me the truth. So, well, the truth is that pretty much every day I hurt. Something hurts. I miss my parents. I miss my grandparents. There are days I think, what would they think about whatever I'm facing? There are days that I'm concerned about the republic and is it going to last? And there's days I'm concerned about you guys, the 20-something-year-olds. I said, now it's your turn. What are you concerned about? And it was very interesting to me because the one lad said that occasionally he's scared. I said, what are you scared of? He goes, tomorrow. And I'm like, why are you scared of tomorrow? And he goes, well, because things are happening that I've never seen before. And I said, well, there are things happening that we've seen before, so take it from an older person, you'll survive. Things will be fine. And then as we're finishing up there, he asked me, he said, well, what's the one thing that older people have that we don't? And I'm like, well, if you don't mind, I'll just give you the truth. And he goes, yeah, that's all I've ever asked. And I'm like, as you get older, something changes, and you just really, pardon the term, just lose that give a damn thing. That you don't care anymore what people think about you. That sometimes it's just best to tell the truth and just be right up front. And if things look bad, things look bad. And I said, I'm not the strongest person in this room, and I know that because I don't care anymore. I'm not the smartest probably in this room because, you know why? Because I don't care anymore. I said, but what I do care about is moving forward and the way we live. And then on Monday, I met with the older folks, and I'm sitting there talking to them, and one of them, as we're sitting there talking, they're concerned about losing their house. Things aren't looking real good for them. And they said to me the same thing, Mr. Johnson, I'm scared. And I'm like, there's not a whole lot of difference when you think of 26-year-olds and 76-year-olds. We pretty much run the same life, if you will. The 26-year-old was just as scared of what's happening today as the 76-year-old is. So as I try to meet with everyone and get to that, it's really, we're all the same. whether you're 26 or 76, we're pretty much all the same. And the other thing I learned at senior lunch is that as you get older, you regress back to your 16th birthday and stuff. Because you can see people become pretty talkative, pretty catty. They eat dessert before they eat the regular meal. And it's just an interesting time for me. And I'm thankful for the job. I'm thankful there are people like you who are interested in people like me, older people, and you. And that I think together we can just keep moving forward. I hope we can. It is a pleasure to have you here in Battleground. We're a lovely little community. There's about 23,000 of us now, on our way to, we think by the mid-30s, somewhere around 40,000 of us. And so we're growing about 1,000 people a year. And so the little town it was when I got here 19 years ago has doubled plus. And sometime in the coming years, hey Jana, we're going to double plus again. So hang with us. It'll be okay. We've got plans. So again, welcome to Battleground. I hope you have a wonderful time. I'm going to hang out for a bit, if that's okay. And then at that point, I'm interested to see what you guys are doing. So thanks again for having me, and welcome to Battleground. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Johnson, for the truth-telling. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing today, too. We're going to be doing some truth-telling today. Thank you for making those parallels for us. So the commission has been excitedly anticipating our public workshops because they're really important opportunities for community members to help us collaboratively update the Aging Readiness Plan, which was adopted by Clark County 10 years ago. The existing plan, which has 5 chapters currently, was developed by a task force of 24 members with significant public input. But a great deal has changed since 2012, of course, and the original plan needs a refresh, and that's why we're here today. With your participation and with the help of our consultant, STUDEC, we're going to be able to update the extraordinary founding document, the one from 2012, with the addition of a 6th chapter that's going to focus on emergency preparedness, a topic that is not currently covered. And it's essential that the updated plan incorporate the ideas and strategies that serve all aging adults in all areas of Clark County. But before guiding you through the workshop details, 2 of our commission members would like to share their thoughts. First is Mel Sanchez, who's a neighbor of yours from Battleground. Mel, would you mind coming on up?
Hello, Mayor. It's great to be here, and it's great to see as many people as we have. When we have our meetings over in Vancouver, sometimes there will be nobody in the audience, and it's great to see as many people as we have here. People I know refer to this area affectionately as the Bay Area, Battleground, Amboy, and Yakult. And I'm a proud member of this area. I'm also proud to be an old person. I embrace it. I love it. I remember about 10 years ago when I was in my 60s, fell at the restaurant, says, I'm 39, and he was obviously older than me. And he says, I'm 39. I said, well, I'm a senior. He says, I don't mind being a senior. I don't mind being old. I like it when people call me sir. I like it when people open the door for me. I like it when I get my senior discounts, especially at this restaurant. They didn't have any, but I just said that anyway. So all of a sudden, he says, well, how come I don't get my discount? I said, you're not old enough. You're only 39. So I like being the age that I am, and I'm working on this commission. I'm one of the newest members, or the newest, and I'm learning the ropes, but I want to try to affect as much change as I can to benefit the aging population in this area. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Mel. And now Franklin Johnson, who's the Commission Vice Chair, would like to add some thoughts about the really important emergency response 6th chapter that's going to be coming. Franklin.
Thank you, Cass. And I want to give a special thank you to Mayor Johnson. I remember a time when I was embracing my youth, and now I can barely remember that time. Again, I want to thank you all for coming out today. One of the things that I have been so enamored of, I grew up in Portland, and Vancouver in this area used to be just where I would pass through on the way to Seattle. But since I've spent some time back east and moved back to the Vancouver and Clark County, I've really come to appreciate and embrace this area. And one of the reasons is because it gives citizens a chance to understand and participate in decisions that government is making. And I find that both refreshing and very intoxicating. So I salute all of you today for the work that you're going to do, for giving us your thoughts, your complaints, your concerns, as well as your ideas and suggestions. Because with these, we hope to shape a really appropriate and reflective update of this plan. One of the things that we're doing is, since we've experienced COVID, and I think we all have in some way or another, one of the things that we found is that so much of our lives were disrupted. And one of the biggest things was services and access to things was limited or completely cut off. And also, there was a tremendous personal disconnect. People weren't as mobile or interactive, and we found that especially with our senior population, a lot of them felt a sense of isolation. And so we spent some time conducting a survey and found out that we had several areas that there were major disconnects. And what we're trying to do is lay some groundwork to hopefully avoid that in the event of any other future event. This chapter 6 on emergency preparedness is basically inspired by the lessons and the hardships we experienced going through dealing with COVID. They tell us that there's not a question of if we'll have another pandemic, but it's just a matter of when. So hopefully we can lay the foundation and some groundwork so that we can better be prepared and better respond, and hopefully be less affected by the next emergency, hopefully whether it's a pandemic or a natural occurrence. So again, I want to thank you for what you're going to do today. We appreciate it and we value it. And we want to make sure that we have some ideas and systems in place to keep us all connected and to provide access to services without the major disruptions that we've had in the past. So again, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Franklin. I'd also like to introduce a few other people in the room. If you are a Commission on Aging member, could you raise your hand or stand up? We have Chuck, we have Mel, Franklin, and myself here. Wonderful. Staff, for our record, could you please note that we do not have a quorum today of Commission members with us. We also have a number of county staff who are here with us this afternoon, evening. If you could raise your hands and let the folks know that you're here as well for staff. Okay, looking around, wonderful, thank you so much. And they'll be part of this exercise that we'll be doing today, helping us out. So without further ado, we'd like to provide a brief introductory presentation, and I will be co-presenting with Jenna Kay, who's one of the county staff members who provides exceptional support to the Commission on Aging. So I think the slides are going to be up there. All right, we'll start right now. So before we dive into the presentation, I also wanted to mention that Rose Newberry and her team at DUDEC, those are the consultants that we're working with, have been greatly assisting us with this project. And while they are not here today, they've put together this presentation that we hope will kind of frame what we're going to be doing today with this exercise and make things a bit more clear for you. Okay, First, we'd like to provide some background on the project to put today's workshop into context. All right, can everyone see? All right, good. Clark County, as everywhere in the county, is anticipating a huge surge in the number of residents 60 or better, as we say. By 2035, 1 in 4 Clark County residents will be 60 or older. That's pretty amazing. With the knowledge of this change coming our way, in 2010, the Board of County Commissioners launched a project that resulted in the creation of the Aging Readiness Plan, and they appointed a 9-member Commission on Aging. The existing Aging Readiness Plan was adopted in 2012 and was developed with significant public input. It has 5 chapters that cover the topics that are listed here: living healthier and longer in our communities, housing opportunities for our aging population, transportation and mobility, supporting your health, well-being, and independence, and more to give, turning silver into gold. And each chapter provides background information on the topic and includes strategies to improve the community for older adults in each area. And in total, the plan has 91 strategies. That's an enormous number of strategies. The Commission on Aging was created with a charge to provide leadership in addressing the special needs of the aging population and to manage and assist with the implementation of the county's Aging Readiness Plan and to update the plan as needs change. Each year, the Commission focuses on different aspects of the plan and develops annual reports which help track the progress on implementing strategies and often include additional strategy ideas. Members of the Commission, like myself and my colleagues here, are volunteers from the community. And as a side note, we currently do have openings on the Commission if you are interested. Please speak with any of the Commission members here today. We can tell you a little bit about the work that we're doing. And also there's information that you can pick up on how to apply at the table where you signed in. Downstairs, would that be, or right over here? Awesome, there it is, wonderful, thank you, Franklin. And next slide. The Aging Readiness Plan strategies can advance best practices, the things that we've learned that we do well, and recommendations for age-friendly planning in local jurisdictions. They set standards for community involvement and monitoring. They forge partnerships to better connect planning, advocacy, and service providers, and recommend new programs needed in our community. And although the Aging Readiness Plan celebrated its 10-year anniversary last year, the Commission's annual focus areas and reports have outlined some changes since the plan's original adoption. There have been many strides forward since 2012 that need to be reflected in the plan, and therefore the Commission requested funding from the County Council to allow for an update, 10-year update. The update will include the addition of the new Health and Safety chapter that Franklin mentioned to the Aging Readiness Plan, focusing on emergency preparedness, a topic that is not currently covered. This will include discussion of natural and man-made hazards and some lessons we've learned from the COVID-19 pandemic. Additional details about implementation of the plan will also be included so that progress can be monitored more easily. The county is not the only entity responsible for implementation of the plan, so updates will more clearly identify the groups that actually implement the 91 strategies. There's also a significant amount of new information that needs to be incorporated. The update will refresh the plan to address changes in the last 10 years, update data and maps, as the mayor mentioned. There's going to be tremendous growth in this area very soon and currently. It will ensure new technologies and services are reflected. Some examples of changes that have occurred in housing and transportation include increased popularity of accessory dwelling units, tiny houses, and other housing options for older adults, and the use of services like rideshare apps that can provide alternative transportation options for older adults. Jenna?
All right, so now we're going to start talking about the workshop today that you all came here for. Next slide. So we are looking for feedback from you on strategies in the current plan, as well as any additional strategy ideas that you may have. So since there are 91 strategies in the Aging Readiness Plan, we have selected a subset of those today, which you may see on boards scattered throughout the room. And so we'll be asking for feedback on those strategies, as well as we have some space to suggest other ideas you may have that may be missing from the plan. We are welcoming all suggestions, as well as you letting us know that maybe a strategy isn't a good idea anymore, that maybe seemed like a good idea 10 years ago. With any idea that you have, we are interested in any specific suggestions you have on who a strategy might be focused on, where that strategy should be implemented. For instance, maybe battleground makes a lot of sense for a certain idea, or maybe the rural areas make the most sense for a certain idea. We're interested in when strategies should be implemented. You know, maybe it would have been helpful that they already had been implemented, but any suggestion on timing could be helpful. And then also, if you have thoughts on why a strategy might be important, all of that feedback is going to help the project team revise these strategies to be more thoughtful and reflective of what we know today and think today. Next slide. So this timeline shows some of the major milestones from this project. To date, outreach activities have included stakeholder interviews and focus group meetings with representatives from organizations that relate to the focus areas of the plan. So that includes supportive service providers, transportation agencies, healthcare providers, housing advocates, emergency responders, and similar groups. We're currently a bit more than halfway through the project timeline, and today is our last public workshop to collect feedback on strategy ideas. And we'll have a final workshop in April that's going to focus on prioritizing these strategies. Following these public workshops, the strategies are going to be further evaluated and refined and will turn into a draft plan. And then that draft plan will be put out for review, and a final plan will be created and submitted through the county's adoption process. Next slide. So next I'm going to dive into how this activity is actually going to work. Next slide. So as I mentioned, you may see some poster boards on the walls around the room. These boards are grouped by topic. So for instance, the blue boards in the back of the room are all about transportation and mobility. And the purple boards over here are focused on community engagement. So they're grouped topically. And when you arrive, you also, I believe, were handed a notepad with sticky notes as well as a pen. So we're going to invite you to take your time and wander around the room, review the strategies written on each board, and then use your sticky note and pen to share your thoughts. Good idea, bad idea, specific feedback on who you see really needs, that idea, things like that. Let's see. If you also have we have boxes on each board that say who, where, when, and why. So like I said, if you have a thought on specifically who that strategy might apply to, you can put it in that box. But if you just have a general thought on the strategy, just write it on a sticky and get it on the board. The main point is that you share your thoughts and they get stuck on a board so that we can review them later. Let's see. There's also a board by each color that says additional feedback. And those are for the additional ideas suggestions. So if you think you didn't see anything about taking care of caregivers, for instance, but you think that's a key need in the county, please write it down and stick it on a board that says additional feedback. So that's the place to put any idea that you have that you think this county needs to better support its aging population. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to recap what I just said. You can visit each of the boards and review strategies. Use your sticky notes to jot down your comments. Any additional strategy ideas should go on the boards that say additional feedback. In general, we will suggest that you move around the room in a clockwise motion to just avoid traffic jams. If certain topics or boards are not of interest to you, please skip them. And if you need additional sticky notes, your pen runs out, or anything like that, please find a staff member will run down and get more from the sign-in table. And also, when you checked in, you may have received a handout that has instructions on the activity. There are some examples on that handout on examples of feedback you might provide. So if that's helpful, please feel free to refer to that. Finally, as Cass had mentioned, commission members and staff will be scattered around the room. We are happy to talk to you. If you would rather talk and have us take notes on the sticky pad, we can do that for you. The main point is for you to share your thoughts. And I think that's all I have. So Cass, back to you to wrap up.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, everybody, so let's get started. I want you to know that, what was it, 2 months ago that we did this exercise in Vancouver, and we were all actually sitting down and doing the exercise as well. And I would just like to, again, say, don't necessarily worry about the boxes. There were moments where I was jammed up. Just get your thoughts down and get them up on the board, and we can figure it all out. The most important thing is you feeling like you're involved and that you're participating and that you're able to say what you want to say. Right? That's the most important thing. So it's the time to visit each of the boards around the room and provide again, feedback on the sticky notes. If you have any questions, again, just to say, please, you can speak with any of us. If you would like us to write it down for you, we are really happy for that conversation, and we'll put those up as well. Or if you just are looking at this and say, I don't really understand what this means, we'll talk it through with you, because oftentimes it helps us to understand, to describe it as well. If you'd like to share your thoughts, again, and you about something that you don't see on the board, just write it down and get it in those additional feedback areas. I, by the way, had a ton of sticky notes in that area when I was doing it myself, because I didn't quite know where to place them. We won't have any kind of closing presentation, so once you've shared all the feedback that you would like to give, please head out, enjoy the rest of this beautiful spring-ish kind of day, and we thank you all in advance for your thoughtful feedback. And let's get going.